Sing a song. Well, hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fantastic day? And it is a fantastic day. I hope you're doing well. And give me a chance right here. Let's record this. Yeah, I record it. And actually, someone asked me if I have a backup channel. And um, yeah, I do. But we're going to look at a backup platform. And there is actually I know three websites that archive all of my videos, live or otherwise. And hey, there you go. So, favor everyone. Thank you, moderators. So good to see you. And thank all the rest of you free thinkers, you fabulous souls, as I said earlier. This is the place that we gather each Monday through Friday and kind of hang out and kind of just, shoot the breeze saying, hello, how is everything? So, yeah, let's see. Still getting used to this new platform that YouTube really thought that they really needed to change up. I don't know why. YouTube, you should just learn that sometimes if it's not broke, don't mess with it. Anyway, cold here in the Front Range in Colorado, and understand it's cold in a lot of places. And for all of you who listen to the program on the other side of the world, which we have a lot, welcome. Guess it's either warmer or colder there. I don't know. So, looking at my notes, got so much to do. You ever hear that? We got so much to do and so little time. Mick and the boys said it best. Time waits on no one. And David, wherever you are, my Stardust friend, we can't change time. Time can change us. But anyway, I digress. So Friday, have a guest coming on again. I was meditating earlier and strange energy. I had to really use some of my war chest, so to speak, and it was weird. It was almost kind of a spatial thing, but there were certain part of my body that was hurting, and I knew that there was nothing there that should have caused that. Anyway, I digress. The thing about all of us humans, we really are a magnificent species. No human has ever lived to their full potential. No human has ever reached what all the possibilities. And that's the unique thing about us. And as we go through this thing called life and experience, and that's what existence is about. You think about it. Existence is about experiencing. How else do you learn? How else do you grow? And the thing about what other species find us unique, the crazy thing is, Lilith tried to tell us there have been so much of the Apocrypha that we've read has tried to tell us, and even outside into other genres, that apparently us, and it would be most likely, and I don't know how to say this because something happened. We know something happened, whether it was 6 or 12,000 years, something happened. And could it actually be that Homo sapiens sapiens did receive something that our ancestors did not possess? Something that makes us, I don't know, oddities in the universe? Could it be that we actually do carry within each of us this spark, this thing called the divine? Yeah. And there's many of us that, well, we have been called upon to help spread that vision. It's not a religion, it's not an ideology, it's not a politics. It's about just being human. That's what it's about. Anyway, so there was my opening monologue. Didn't even mean to start doing that, to be quite honest with you, but it came out. And have you ever been eating and you bite your tongue? God, that hurts. Man, I don't know how people who pierce their tongue ever get that done. I mean, ouch. Hey, Big Al, how are you doing? Entering Colorado. Well, I hope the heater works. Let's just say hello to everyone. And Hal, I hope you're heading southwest. There's Julianne from down under, David Barry, and there's Miss Lois, Cajun Queen Tarot. How are you doing, my dear? And Robert and Jenny, Eye of the Maelstrom, this Nita the Mystic. How do you, my dear? Burning Ego, I like that. Kirk Blaine, how are you doing, buddy? Robin, hello. David Belanca, good to see you, my dear. Barry, Eric. Hey, Kent, how you doing, buddy? Eyes to see. I see you. Stephen, good to see you. And Rod, Twisted Isby, Nina the Mystic. Well, okay. Gee, so, this is my office. I work in here and create in here is what I do. My wife says this room has an energy. She says it's tangible when you walk through the door of it. But boy, so I'm looking in on the other line and re-elect the president. All right. There's no escape. I'm telling you, there's no escape. Cheers, whatever your libation may be. Hot or cold or in between. Cheers. Good to see you. There's Sarah. How you doing? The tongue heals instantly, and if you take the piercing out of for the surgery, I did not know that. That's really odd. I was unaware of that. Thanks for letting us into your office. Hey, you can have 2 seats over there, but the rest of us, well, we just come in the ether, man. Indeed. So let's get into this. We're going to, at least, like I said, we're going to look at the structure of what we live in. I mean, you have to admit sometimes that it's just the way it is. And so if that's the case, and the house came already, they already had the furniture in it. They already decorated it. We may not like the decorating, but hey, let's go ahead and sit in the chair and see what we can learn here. So let's rock and roll, baby. And we got so much material. So much. All right, as we left off Monday, we were talking about the global dynastic elite. And, of course, we've got the Queen Mother there. House of Windsor, very important. Jacob Rothschild, David Rockefeller, and the Vatican. Now, I will expound upon why there is a divide here. If you go between Rothschild and Rockefeller, and how many of you are getting into that book, huh? Whoa. Anyway, so let's just get a little more of the sultry dirt here. So no matter how wealthy, powerful Rockefeller became, the one thing that he passed on to his heirs, his sons particularly, was the fact that no matter how rich they were, they could become the richest. No matter how much power they acquired, they would never be nobility. The bloodlines, folks, it's serious stuff. It really is, because now I don't know if this would fall into this thought. As above, so below. If that's the case, all I got to say is, oh, shit. This is a structure that when you look into it, and we're going to get into it, and I'll get out of this commentary here, the thing at bloodlines, nobility. America doesn't have nobility. And no matter how rich an American is, they'll never be let in. Ask the Rockefellers. They know. Oh, they'll have their ability to meet the nobility, the bloodlines, and they may even be granted certain titles, certain privileges, but they don't have the blood. Anyway, so let's move on, shall we? All right. So we talked about at the center of this, what we could simply call the oligarchy is the idea that certain families now, they have this inherent right. They have assumed this title. And they merely look at us as, well, chattel for the fodder. That's all I can say. And we talked about how they set up the black nobility and how that began to set the tendrils, because this is what they do. It's like when I lived in Atlanta for a while, and the one thing when you go outside Atlanta, and everyone knows this, kudzu. It's everywhere, and our Department of Agriculture planted anyone. It doesn't matter. The thing about it is, if you ever look at a kudzu plant, it spreads like overnight. It can grow 3 feet overnight. And it sends out these little tendrils from the main branch. And this is what they do. So they don't see us as we see ourselves, how religion puts us into it. The thing about religion, remember, religion in its basic format is racist. Doubt me? Well, merely go to the Old Testament. I would suggest you read the book of Exodus. And if you think that racism isn't heralded, it is. And that's the problem. It segregates us, it divides us, and they know this. So we know that it touches everything where finance is concerned. And folks, finance is what rules this world. We replaced all the old gods with the modern day gods. Today, humanity worships materialism. Oh, there's a remnant that seeks, the so-called spiritual part. But even most spiritualists in the quest for spiritual ascendancy must pay a tax. It's just the rare outside remnant. We realize you don't need any of that nonsense. So we pick up with the Rothschilds. The name Rothschild cannot be found in the publications list of the 500 wealthiest people on earth because the family's wealth has been distributed amongst hundreds of heirs throughout the years. Although it is difficult to estimate exactly how much this powerful family is worth due to their renowned secrecy and scale of their operations, the net worth has been estimated at anywhere between 1 trillion and 100 trillion. I did some research on this. The latest number estimates the Rothschilds' wealth to be in excess of $500 trillion. All right, they're halfway to what, a quadrillion? I don't know. Anyway, the Rothschilds are thought to control the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the Bank of International Settlements. They own most of the world's gold and the London Gold Exchange. And according to the estimation made by Credit Suisse, the U.S. $231 trillion is controlled by Evelyn Rothschild, the current head of the family. I have to have a sip of tea on that. Way to go, Evelyn. You know my take on all this? Let them have it. I'm looking for something much better. You know what this does? This weighs the soul. You may got it all here, baby, but you ain't got Shinola on the other side. Anyway, the Rockefellers. John David Rockefeller was a Machiavellian who boasted that he hated competition. Whenever he could, Rockefeller used the government to promote his own interest and to hinder his competitors. Monopoly capitalism is impossible unless you have a government with the power to strangle would-be competitors. The easiest way to control or eliminate competitors is not to best them in the marketplace, but to use the power of government to exclude them from the marketplace. If you wish to control commerce, banking, transportation, and natural resources on a national level, you must control the federal government. If you and your clique wish to establish worldwide monopolies, you must control world government. Gary Allen, out of his book, Rockefeller File. Now, the Vatican, always the Vatican. I mean, that alone should tell you something. The Vatican has large investments with the Rothschilds of Britain, France, and America, with the Hambros Bank and Credit Suisse in London and Zurich. In the United States, has large investments with Morgan Bank, Chase Manhattan Bank, First National Bank of New York, the Bankers Trust Company, and others. The Vatican has billions of shares in the most powerful international corporations such as Gulf Oil, Shell, those have now merged, General Motors, Bethlehem Steel, I don't know about that anymore, General Electric, International Business, IBM, TWA, and then you can tell this is outdated because TWA doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, apparently they have investments too. And so we had to ask ourselves, well, there's no escape here. And it gets worse. The roundtable groups. Yeah, check that out. I mean, there's got the occultism all in through this, folks. I mean, I'm just telling you, occultism is by far, I think, the grand theme of the dinner arrangement. You know how when you have a formal meal, you always, in designing where people sit, you have to have the main decoration of the table. Well, in this case, it's called the round table. It is one of the least understood realities of modern history that many of America's most prominent political and financial figures, then as now, have been willing to sacrifice the best interest of the United States in order to further their goals of creating a one-world government. So let me ask you something. I just want to stop here. Let's just use logic and reasoning in this. So isn't that the goal of every religion? Is either convert all of us or eliminate us, you know? Is that the same thing going on over here? Me thinketh. Yeah, the strategy has remained unchanged since the formation of Cecil Rhodes Society and its offspring, the Round Table Groups. It is to merge the English-speaking nations into a single political entity, while at the same time creating similar groupings for other geopolitical regions. After this is accomplished, all of these groupings are to be amalgamated into a global government, the so-called Parliament of Man. This is from G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and that is a book you should have in your library, especially if you live in America. All right, so let's start seeing, this is like bringing this group into a room and, they're all liars. And so you ask which one's going to tell the truth. Yeah. Anyway, so the Council on Foreign Relations. In the beginning, boy, where did we hear that before, huh? The Council on Foreign Relations was dominated by J.P. Morgan himself. It is still controlled by international financiers. The Morgan Group gradually has been replaced by the Rockefeller Consortium. It is the most powerful group in America today. It is even more powerful than the federal government because almost all of the key positions in government are held by its members. In other words, it is the United States government. The chattel, the lowlifes, the president, congressmen, and senators, they come and go. Now, some get in like a tick, on a hound dog down in Georgia in August, and you can't get the damn things out. But by the most part, they see it just simply as, here's a new group coming in, now the old group going out. So, again, this is from Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, a second look at the Federal Reserve. The Council on Foreign Relations, the CFR, took control of the ideological foundations of the American empire. Very important to understand that that's what America truly was an empire. We weren't, what we think we are, this democracy. Democracies don't work. You challenge me on that? All I have to do is point to history. The Greek and the Romans. Both of those were democracies. The Romans were more of a republic, but they became more of a democracy. And once a democracy sets in, no form of democracy is going to last more than 400 years, maybe 5. And there's a reason for that. Anyway, I digress. Encompassing the corporate, banking, political, foreign policy, military, media, and academic elite of the nation into a generally cohesive overall worldview. Just look at what they teach on the colleges and university campuses. Yeah. By altering one's ideology to that of promoting such an internationalist agenda, the big money that was behind it would ensure one's rise through the government. The big money that was behind it would ensure one's rise, not only through the government, industry, academia, and media. There are divisions within the elite, predicted on the basis of how to use American imperial power, where to use it, and on what basis to justify it, and other various methodological differences. The divide amongst elites was never on the question of, should we use America's imperial power? Why has America become an empire? Or should there even be an empire? If one takes on considerations to heart and questions these concepts, be it within the foreign policy establishments, intelligence, military, academia, finance, corporate world, or media, chances are such a person is not a member of the CFR. Andrew Gavin Marshall. And folks, these groups exist. I was part of one. Anyway, I am delighted to be here in these new Council on Foreign Relations headquarters. I have been often to, I guess, the mothership in New York City, but it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council. So this will mean I won't have as far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, opening remarks during her speech on the Council of Foreign Relations, July 15, 2009. This is Representative Jack R. Remick of Louisiana. The CFR, dedicated to one world government, financed by a number of the largest tax-exempt foundations, and wielding such power and influence over our lives in the areas of finance, business, labor, military, education, and mass communication media, should be familiar to every American concerned with good government and with preserving the defending the United States Constitution and our free enterprise system. Yet, the nation's news media, usually so aggressive in exposures to inform other people, remain conspicuously silent when it comes to the CFR, its members, and their activities. You never, I don't care how far conservative you want to go. I don't care how far left of radicalism you want to go. They ain't going to talk, baby, about the CFR. Oh, no. The CFR is the establishment. Not only does it have influence and power in key decision-making positions at the highest levels of government to apply pressure from above. Maybe that as above, as below thing, yeah. But it also finances and uses individuals and groups to bring pressure from below. Oh, crap. To justify the high-level decisions for converting the U.S. from a sovereign constitutional republic into a servile member state of a one-world dictatorship. This was back in 1971. You know, we are the future. Think about that. Gary Allen's book, Kissinger. Of some 1,600 CFR members, 120 either own or control the nation's major newspapers, magazines, radio and television networks, as well as the most powerful book publishing companies. The interlock with academia is immense. CFR members virtually control the major foundations, whose grants quite often are bestowed on persons or groups tied to the CFR. The CIA has been under virtual CFR control since its creation. Of the CFR's 1974 membership, about 90 represented the major Wall Street international banking organizations. In addition, presidents, vice presidents, and chairmen of the boards of most of the giant corporations are members of the CFR. Feeling screwed yet? So let's jump over across the pond. The Chatham House. The Chatham House, Royal Institute of International Affairs. RA! All right, this is from Cecil Rhodes' Last Will and Testament, 1877. To establish a trust to and for the establishment and promotion and development of a secret society, the Royal Institute of International Affairs. The true aim and object whereof shall be the extension of British rule throughout the world, the perfecting of a system of immigration from the United Kingdom, and the colonization by British subjects of all lands wherein the means of livelihood are attainable by energy, labor, and enterprise, and especially the occupation by British settlers of the entire continent of Africa, the Holy Land, the valley of the Euphrates, the island of Cyprus and Candia, the whole of South America, the islands of the Pacific, not theretofore possessed by Great Britain, the whole of the Malay archipelago, the seaboard of China and Japan, the ultimate recovery of the United States of America as an integral part of the British Empire, the consolidation of the whole empire, the inauguration of a system of colonial representation in the imperial parliament, which may tend to weld together the disjointed members of the empire. And finally, the foundation of so great a power as to hereafter render wars impossible and promote the best interest of humanity. Wow. I mean, talk about ruling from the grave. I mean, folks, if you don't believe in an afterlife, let this be your guidepost. They do. This is from Carol Quigley's book, Tragedy and Hope, 1966. The influence of Chatham House appears in its true perspective, not as the influence of an autonomous body, but as merely one of many instruments in the arsenal of power of another power. When the influence which the Institute wields is combined with the control of the Milner Group in other fields, in education, in administration, in newspapers, and periodicals, a really terrifying picture begins to emerge. The picture is terrifying because such power, whatever the goals at which it may be directed, is too much to be entrusted safely to any group. No country that values its safety should allow what the Milner Group accomplished in Britain. That is, that a small number of men should be able to wield such power in administration and politics, should be given almost complete control over the publication of documents relating to their actions, should be able to exercise such influence over the avenues of information that create public opinion, and should be able to monopolize so completely the writing and teaching of the history of their own period. That's why we can't trust what the history books say. We have found already the manipulation of history is not something new. Today, man does not know what the year, the day, or the hour actually is. I hope you're finding this informative. The Royal Institute of International Affairs, the Chatham House, and its leading personnel control not only the Far Eastern drug traffic, but every important dirty money operation on the surface of the globe. From the book Dope Inc., The International Drug Cartels, Money Laundering and State Power, 1992. All right, so let's take a look at what the Royal Institute of International Affairs effectively now completely controls. In fact, it's the entire global business, banking, and political system of the world, including the Vatican. Its sub-branches illustrates its staggering global power. You ready? Keep the scorecards, kids. Council of Foreign Relations, USA. Trilateral Commission, USA. Australian Institute of International Affairs. Canadian Institute of International Affairs. Danish Institute of International Affairs. Hungarian Institute of International Affairs. Institute of International Affairs of Italy. Japan Institute of International Affairs. Institute of International Affairs of Prague. Netherlands Institute of International Affairs, Norwegian Institute of International Affairs, South Africa Institute of International Affairs. It says that the RA changed its name to Chatham House on September 1st, 2004. This is from the book of John D. Christian in his book, Hidden Secrets on the Alpha Course. So let's talk now about the Trilateral Commission. David Rockefeller's newest international cabal is the Trilateral Commission, whereas the Council on Foreign Relations is distinctly national in membership. The Trilateral Commission is international. Representation is allocated equally to Western Europe, Japan, and the United States, And I believe they have now begun to include China. Don't quote me on this, but it may still just be the trilateral. It is intended to be the vehicle for multinational consolidation of the commercial and banking interest by seizing control of the political government of the United States. That is their mission statement. Jimmy Carter is not the president of the United States. The Trilateral Commission is the president of the United States. I represent the Trilateral Commission. Henry Kissinger's declaration to the head of the state of Canada from his book, The Bilderberg Group by Daniel Estulin. The Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderberg Group have prepared for and are now implementing open world dictatorship. They are not fighting against terrorists, they are fighting against citizens. Dr. Johannes Koppe, former German defense minister, official, and advisor to NATO, from Dean Henderson's book, Big Oil and Their Bankers in the Persian Gulf. And folks, if you think that their agenda hasn't changed, the Trilateral Commission admits, and excuse me, I can't see that because of, there we go. And he said, what do you go? Admit in their own publication that they intend to merge, give me 1 second, folks, the U.S. and other NATO countries into a single world government controlled by big corporations. Mark M. Rich's book, The Hidden Evil, The Financial Elite's Covert World Against the Civilized Population. Barry Goldwater from his memoirs, With No Apologies. The Trilateral Commission is intended to be the vehicle for multinational consolidation of the commercial and banking interests by seizing control of the political government of the United States. The Trilateral Commission represents a skillful, coordinated effort to seize control and consolidate the four centers of power: political, monetary, intellectual, and ecclesiastical. What the Trilateral Commission intends is to create a worldwide economic power superior to the political governments of the nation states involved. As members and creators of the system, they will rule the future. Yikes. The Bilderberg Group. Club Bilderberg. They just don't let anybody come join their club. The Bilderberg Group is Europe's version of the Council on Foreign Relations, acting on behalf of the Committee of 300, Queen of England, the Vatican, and the Priory of Sion, the French monarchy. Dr. Joseph Ratzinger plotted to forge alliances with the European Council of Princes, the CIA, the Britain's M16, by creating another world order think tank to be known as, you got it, the Bilderberg Group. Dr. Rittinger, founder of the European movement leading to the founding of the European Union, approached Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands in 1952, who agreed to become its co-founder. The Bilderberg Group has been meeting secretly behind closed doors at irregular intervals, once or twice each year since its formation. Its purpose is to remove independence from all countries and permit the aristocracy's tyrannical rule from behind the military might of the United Nations. Again, Daniel Estulin in his book, The Bilderberg Group, an offshoot of the Vatican Black Nobility. The Bilderberg Group is an organization of political, and again, why does it do that? It's like leaders and international financiers that meet secretly every spring to make global policy. There are about 110 regulars, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, bankers, heads of international corporation, and high government officials from Europe and North America. Each year, a few new people are invited, and if found useful, they return to future meetings. If not, they are discarded. Decisions reached at these secret meetings affect every American in much of the world. Jim Tucker, in his book, The Bilderberg Diary, he passed away about a decade ago, but Jim Tucker, the man knew. And if any of you know who Jim is, you'll know his work. He had the inside scoop. He was the one that was giving Alex Jones in the early days. They found him, but they seemed to allow it to happen. So anyway, I digress on that. Again, from Daniel Eston's book, The Bilderberg Group. In the more than 50 years of their meetings, the Bilderberg Group, the press has never been allowed to attend. No statements have ever been released on the attendees' conclusions, nor has any agenda for the Bilderberg meeting been made public. It is certainly curious that no mainstream media outlet considers a gathering of such figures, who well far exceeds the combined wealth of all United States citizens, to be newsworthy, when a trip by any one of them on their own makes headlines all over. Bilderberg meetings are never mentioned in the media because the mainstream press is fully owned by the Bilderbergs. Well, there you go. The Bilderbergs Group chief fear is organized resistance. What they want is that the common people of the world to figure out what they are planning for the world's future. Mainly the one world government, world company. I love that. That's more accurate. You know, the New World Order should really be called what it is. It's a corporation with a single global marketplace, policed by world armies and financially regulated by one world bank, using one global currency. We're not that far away from it, folks. What the Bilderberg Group intends is a global army at the disposal of the United Nations, which is to become the world government to which all nations will be subservient. Henry Kissinger, 91. And listen, had the former administration gotten its way and had Hillary Clinton in, Trump reshuffled the deck is what he did. And then there's always those who say, but wait a minute, Wayne. He knows all these guys. Yeah, he does. Just saying. The International Consortium of Financiers, known as the Bilderbergs, who meet annually in profound secrecy to determine the destiny of the Western world, is a creature of the Rockefeller-Rothschild alliance. The Rockefeller interest works in close alliance with the Rothschilds and other central banks. Dr. Martin Larson, from his book, Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Eston Mullins. This is one I never really heard about, really. I mean, but boy, got to have another sip of tea on this one. The Club of Isles is a European cartel centered within the City of London and headed by the House of Windsor, which controls every aspect of the global economy: banks, insurance, pharmaceutical companies, raw materials, transportation, factories, major retail groups, and the stock and commodities market, politicians and governments, media, intelligence agencies, drug, and organized crime. This is from the Windsor's Global Food Cartel, Instrument of Starvation, an article from the Executive Intelligence Review, 1995. The Club of the Isles is a House of Windsor-led group. The cartel's big six grain trading companies own and control 95% of America's wheat exports, 95% of its corn exports, 90% of its oak, and 80% of its sorghum exports. A few smaller companies, almost all in the grain cartel's orbit, control the remaining market share. The grain companies' control over the American grain market is absolute. Rich Freelman's Executive Intelligence Review, 1995. Folks, if they control the food, as Henry Kissinger said, the future will be ruled by he who rules the food. And what's taking place now in Eastern Africa and now heading into the Middle East is setting up for a very precarious situation. Jeffrey Steinberg, 2008. The Club of Isles, since the era of opium wars against China, has been the leading sponsor and controller of global organized crime. You know why they don't stop the flow of drugs? Oh, they can. All you have to do is legalize it. You take all the profit off of it. Not going to happen. Number one, it's too much of a profit maker for them. And the souls that are drained because of their poisons, they feed off of that. It's true. William Engdahl, Executive Intelligence Review, 1995. The Club of Isles is a vast network of private financial interests controlled by the leading aristocratic and royal families of Europe. It is molded on the 17th century British and Dutch East India Company models. The Rothschild family has been at the financial heart of the Club of Isles. The Club of Isles is centered in the city of London. Henry Makow, 2004. The Club of Isles is an informal association of predominantly European-based royal households, including the Queen of England. The Club of Isles commands an estimated 10 trillion in assets. You can probably add that about, I don't know, let's do 4 times, probably 50 trillion. It lords over such corporate giants as the Royal Dutch Shell, Imperial Chemical Industries, Lloyds of London, Unilever, L'Oréal, Royal Tinto Zinc, and Anglo-American De Beers. It dominates the world supply of petroleum, gold, diamonds, and many other vital raw materials, and deploys these assets at the disposal of its geopolitical agenda. Its goal, to reduce the human population from its current level to below 1 billion people within the next 2 to 3 generations, to literally cull the human herd, in the interest of retaining their own global power and the feudal system upon which that power is based. They know it. Folks, go to Adapt 2030. I mean, it's never talked about. But folks, famine on a global scale, The New Federalist Papers, 1994. You will not read about the Club of Isles in any textbook or popular magazine. It is unincorporated and it has no membership list. Yet, as an informal association of predominantly European-based royal households and princely families, the Club of the Isle commands an estimated 10 trillion in assets. It lords over, again, we kind of already read that in the other one. Yeah, this is a bad group. It goes on to say exactly the City of London, House of Windsor, operations. And this is very interesting when you look at this, because I didn't know this. So the operations called the Club of Isles was named after King Edward VII, Queen Victoria's son, who was the first to carry the title Prince of the Isles. The title is held today by Prince Charles, Edward was heavily involved with black nobility barons of the London financial district and helped them engineer the Crimean War, the Russian-Japan War, and preparations for the First World War and the Opium Wars in China. Through the central organization of the Club of the Isles, the web is interlocking with dictatorships, which hold independent companies in a network of common control and common agenda. A few of the companies in the Club of the Isles networks include the Bank of England, Anglo-American company. We've already read all this. So not to be repetitive, but again, it's they're everywhere. I want to get into our next one. I mean, this one, I could have gone on, as you can see. The Club of Rome. The Club of Rome is a conspiratorial umbrella organization, a marriage between Anglo-American financiers and the old black nobility families of Europe, particularly the so-called nobility of London, Venice, and Genoa. The key to a successful control of the world is their ability to create and manage economic recessions and depressions. John Coleman, in his book, The Committee of 300. And these guys, yeah. I mean, they're, what do you do? Do you check your soul at the door? Is that what happens here? It's just weird. A cancer is an uncontrolled multiplication of cells. The population explosion is an uncontrolled multiplication of people. We must shift our efforts from the treatment of the symptoms to the cutting out of the cancer. The operation will demand many apparently brutal and heartless decisions. The result, ideal, sustainable population, will be more than 500 million, but less than 1 billion. Club of Rome Statement, Mankind at the Turning Point, 1974, and Goals of Mankind, 1976. The Club of Rome was established with a membership of 75 predominant scientists, industrialists, and economists from 25 countries. Along with the Bilderbergs, it has become one of the most important foreign policy arms of the Round Table. David Allen Rivera, in his book, Final Warning, A History of the New World Order. There is no other viable alternative to the future survival of civilization than the new global community under a common leadership. Club of Rome's website. Yeah. The Club of Rome book, Limits Growth, 1972. On September 17th, 1973, the Club of Rome released a report called The Regionalized and Adaptive Model of the Global World System. It revealed the club's goal of dividing the world into 10 political, economic regions, which would unite the entire world under a single form of government. These regions are North America, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Japan, rest of the developed world, Latin America, Middle East, rest of Africa, South and Southeast Asia, and China. David Allen Rivera in his book, Final Warning. The Club of Rome has indicated that genocide should be used to eliminate people who they refer to as useless eaters. Man, that's cold. And it got better. And if these assholes were doing this in the 90s, where do you think they are today? I don't know. I'll keep positive. The Pilgrims Society. The Pilgrims Society is an aristocratic Anglo-American club. The primary purpose of this club is to form an unofficial alliance with the United States and to vastly increase the powers of the British Empire. The Pilgrim Society has fused together the business centers of New York and London, together with a large portion of the political centers of both nations. 90% of the American members are top-level bankers and businessmen from New York City. The Pilgrim Society presidents of the New York Federal Reserve Bank cover the period from 1914 until 1979. Pilgrim Society chairman of the New York Federal Reserve cover almost the entire period from the 20s up to the 90s, and they're still going strong. The Pilgrim Society represents that old dream of Cecil Rhodes to create a worldwide English-speaking free trade zone. You don't think it's happening? Hello, NAFTA. The trade wars, folks. Yeah, it gets spooky. And the dominant position for the Anglo-Saxon race. Rhodes had also been speculating about a network of secret societies that had to absorb the wealth of the world. The Pilgrim Society is one of the most important privately funded institutions of the globalist movement. Joel Van Der Ruggen, 2005. In 1897, a group of top British and American intellectuals and money monopolists met to plot ways to implement Cecil Rhodes' plan for a merging of British and American interest in preparation for the final thrust towards the achievement of their ultimate goal, a one-world government. The result of their deliberations came on July 24th, 1907, with the creation in London of an ultra-secret organization known as the Pilgrim Society. The basic purpose of the Pilgrim Society was to promote unity between the United States and Britain, to maneuver the United States into a position of dependence upon the crown. From the book Descent into Slavery by Des Griffin. I guess we'll have to end it there. And we'll just finish up with this one here. The Pilgrims were founded in London, July 24th, 1902, 4 months after the death of Cecil Rhodes, who had outlined an ideology of a secret society to work towards eventual British rule of all the world, and who had made particular provisions of his will designating, again, designed to bring the United States among the countries possessed by Great Britain. And we'll pick that up here tomorrow, folks. I'm telling you, it's one of the most comprehensive studies I have ever done. And I hope it's helping you. It's complicated. And to think that there are so many human beings hell-bent on making us a slave planet. Maybe they work for the wardens. I don't know. Because it lends a lot of credence to what the aliens have said about Earth. You guys are a prison planet. I don't know. I mean, you look at this and you cannot help but stand back and go, my mind doesn't think like these people. I'll admit it. I don't know. I can't, you can't be that cruel and think that this is somehow going to infringe upon your good karma. And speaking of karma, why don't gods have karma? I'm tired about them talking about our karma. It's BS because apparently it don't flow uphill. And y'all know the word I was thinking about. But yeah, I mean, yay. And they look at us as eating their food. They look at us and around the world as us using their raw materials. They got all the money, folks. I mean, this isn't about money anymore. It's play money at this point. When you start dealing in trillions and quadrillions, I mean, it's play money. There's something bigger here. And, I keep on thinking about the ET factor. Well, wait a minute. I thought that these were the good guys, huh? What? They're powerless to come against this cabal? Or maybe they are the ones of the cabal. It's weird. The gods, Nick says, the gods have karma. Well, good. I've had a few discussions with a couple of them, and I said, hey, you got some bad karma coming on you. So, let's see. Thank you, Susie Q. Much appreciated. And, as we get through this, I'm going to tell you, you will be able to have the most intelligent, cohesive, intelligent conversation, and you'll be able to tell them exactly how this thing is working. Remember, they finance all the wars. And I have no doubt that China is, been given a seat at the table. I mean, you don't dare risk not, bringing in that. I mean, their goal was the same for China as it was for the United States. It's just that with communism, you can get done a lot quicker. Remember, all of you people who really want for socialism, show me one country where socialism works. Show me one success story. You don't find it. Why? Because it's just that. It's the enslavement of us, folks. And then you take all this in and you look at it to magic. Let's talk about occultism. Within all of these structures, the occult is dominant. They push the Christianity, the Muslim, the Hindu, they push these religions. It's profitable for them. Why? Because religion is the opiate. It sedates the mind. And if a mind is sedated, it's less likely to become awake and become free thinking. And there's a lot of free thinking people here. So they know they can't sedate us. So now what are they going to do with us? Let's see. Thank you, Angel. Thank you. Thank all of y'all. That is just, y'all are the kindest group, and I've told you that many people, and we're going to have a lot of people on. In fact, right before I go, Friday, we have our guest Michelle coming on. We have Wayne Bush coming on the 12th. We have Zerlath coming in on the 19th. We have Barnabas coming in, I think, on the 26th. No, different date. But we got a lot of people coming on, so it's going to be fun. All right, folks, peace to you. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week. Have a fabulous rest of the day. All right, peace.